port as pride and dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to Herpanwo TV. Well, it's an absolutely lovely day here in Oxford, and believe it or not, it's a day when I don't have to work. I work pretty much every day. Very rarely do I get a day off. Now, my actual working hours are about average, probably the same as what most people work. However, it's spread out over the whole week, 7 days. So basically, today is a day off for me, which is nice. And so I've decided, I mean, I can't just sit at home on a day like this. Look at it, it's beautiful. The sun's in the sky, and there's no chemtrails, lovely puffy clouds, so I thought I'd come out for a walk and bring my camera with me, so I can maybe talk to you guys on the way. I'll show you where I am actually. I'm actually in Oxford. I'm at this place called Aston's Ayot. Now, this Ashian Island, you could probably guess what this video is going to be about, can't you? If you're a regular viewer. Welcome to Aston's Ayot, and please feel free to pause and read. This is owned by Christchurch College, and it just gives you the rules of how to what you can and cannot do. That's good. I'm just going to walk across here. Now, this is the bridge that connects the island to the mainland. I say mainland. I'm starting to talk like the subject of this particular film, but you can see here it's just a narrow stream, but it goes all the way around. The far side of the island is actually the River Thames, or the Isis as we call it here in Oxford. Here, there's a little guidebook here you can actually see, because it's a nature reserve here, and that is the actual Ayot there. That's the Thames or Isis, and there's a little stream that goes all the way around there. So I don't think I've got time to go all the way around it, but I just thought I'd show you. And here's a lot of these things you get. Like there's some deer on here as well, muntjac deer. Although they keep out of the way as usual. We're on the island now. Of course, as I've said on previous videos, this Oxford is a series of islands, really. It's swampland that was drained in the Middle Ages, and there's all these islands with channels between them, which basically is what the city's made up of. It's a confluence of the River Cherwell and Thames. Now, of course, the reason I brought you here, as always when I'm bringing you to an island, is to talk about the island, that island, yes, St Helena. I'm going to give you an update on the St Helena situation. I'll just have a little walk down here. It's an absolutely beautiful location. Just have a look. It's peaceful and quiet. So I haven't seen anyone else yet, which is, I will, because there's going to be a lot of people around here on a day like this. That's an old sign there from Christchurch. Digging is prohibited. Anyone found doing so will be prosecuted. It says digging. I assume that also means dogging. But yes, St Helena Airport, of course. If you remember, I'll put a link in the description box to my last video when I talked about St Helena Airport. And to give you a bit of background, the airport is now open and running. And I think in the last video I covered the first flights that went there. It's now been open for 1.5 years, and it's working well. After the initial technical problems, it's now normal. The wind shear problem and things like that have been sorted out. There's now regular commercial flights from South Africa, and there's also flights from other places as well, such as Namibia, and indeed from Ascension Island as well. There's military aircraft come from there, because it does double up as a military base. And I think I might mention that on the previous show, that there was actually an RAF flight that landed there, and the government do intend to use St Helena Airport as a military forward operating post for its patrols in the South Atlantic. The other dependencies, such as the other parts of that territory, such as Tristan da Cunha, but also the Falkland Island dependencies, which of course are still at risk from invasion by Argentina yet again, like it did in 1982. And there was a plane landed a few months ago. There was a lot of talk on the island about it. A lot of the saints were starting to sound a bit like me, actually, in terms of conspiracy theories, because it was classified. It was on a classified mission, and the aircrew were allowed onto the island to go around and meet the locals and everything, but they were forbidden from talking to them about what they were doing. It was confidential. And you can go there regular. There's now regular flights from Johannesburg, Cape Town, Walvis Bay in Namibia, and Windhoek as well, which is a town in Namibia, and an airport. And it costs about £700. And I appreciate the person who suggested. I want to say thank you to somebody who did suggest a crowdfunding campaign to send me to St Helena, and that would have been nice. But I don't want to go by plane. I think I said this on a previous video, so apologies if I'm repeating myself. But I want to go by sea. Let me turn. You don't want to see my ugly mug, do you? You want to see the beautiful landscape. So I don't really want to fly. I want to go by boat, and of course that is now no longer possible. I mean, the number of people I've flown, like I say, it costs 700 quid or so. I think if you're flying from Britain, because you've got to change in South Africa. You can't fly direct from Britain. The airport can't cope with the aircraft large enough to do that, like the jumbos and things like that. You can only cope with smaller aircraft. But there's the number of people actually so far who have flown to St Helena or back again now exceeds the island's population. It didn't take long actually for that to happen, because only 4,000 people live on St Helena. So it didn't take long for the number of passengers who come and go to actually exceed the population. Over a quarter of the people so far who've travelled through the airport, both in and out off the island, on and off the island, are natives. They are residents of St Helena, the Saints as they're called. So we now have Saints for the first time ever flying to and from their island rather than the 5-day journey by sea from South Africa. The Commonwealth Games last year, very interestingly, the St Helena had 10 participants, I believe, and of course they flew for the first time ever. Team St Helena flew to the Commonwealth Games, which are on the Gold Coast of Australia, with their participants and their management team, their coaches and things. And they took part in the swimming and the shooting primarily, where they did their best. They didn't get any medals, but they did quite well, and they are improving slowly. They had one track competitor as well. Now, one of the shooting guys actually doesn't live on the island anymore. He lives here in Oxford. So I saw a photo of him. I can't remember what's his name. I can't remember his name now, but I thought he looks familiar. I think I might have seen him. If I see him, I'll talk to him about the island. But he was on the shooting team. But of course, this means that the stay of execution for the RMS Saint Helena, is over. And I had to report I wrote a very sad article actually in January last year about the final voyage of the RMS Saint Helena. This is this specialised ship. I explain in detail in the previous videos, which I'll put links to in the description box. But the RMS Saint Helena was this specialised vessel which served the island. It basically took everything that the island needed to the island and brought everything back again, and the island exported. And this includes people. If you wanted to visit the island, you would have to go via the RMS or another ship. Sometimes cruise ships used to call there. But you had to go by sea. There was no other way to get to the island. There was no aircraft that could visit the island. And that was, it takes 5 days to get from the nearest port, which is in South Africa, and the closest land is 1,000 miles away, which is the coast of Angola. Now, I've talked before about that situation. The RMS now, built in 1986, was taken out of service, and there was a big, very ceremonial final voyage where she went to St Helena, and then went south to Tristan da Cunha, then north to Ascension and back again. And there was a big party for the crew at Cape Town Harbour, and also on the islands themselves. There was lots of ceremonies and parties, and I dare say there were a few moist eyes. In fact, I doubt if there was a dry eye on the island when that happened. And I do wonder actually what the Saints are thinking, what the Saints thought when they saw that proud old ship depart the island for the last time. It must have been an extremely poignant moment. We've now come to the southern end of the island now. I won't go over the bridge, but I'll just show you the bridge leading to this other area known as the Kidneys, which is actually not an island as such, it's a part of the mainland. But you see this little channel here. The weed and things like that there. Beautiful. There's just a light breeze, very comfortable, it's not too hot. And here's a thing here. Right, so the ship was gone, it was out of service. And it was sad, I was sad too. I was sad when that happened. As I said, it's what's it got to do with me? I am not a saint, and I've never been to St Helena. And I explained why this means such a lot to me in the previous videos in this series. But so that's it, St Helena. The very fact that the saints were coming and going, a quarter of the passengers so far who've been through that airport are the saints themselves. Their island is now suddenly, after being shut off from the outside world by a 5-day sea voyage, it's now a 3-hour air flight. It's 3 hours in a plane to South Africa and the rest of the world. So basically that means it is done. I mean, the whole thing that I've been talking about in this series is done. The deed. St Helena is now no longer an isolated, unique culture. It is part of global culture, and it's showing. It's showing now. I think I mentioned this on a previous video. The St Helena police, and there's only 14 police officers. There's only actually 18 police officers in the entire overseas territory of St Helena, Ascension, St Helena, Tristan da Cunha. There's one guy on. There's one part-time police officer on Tristan da Cunha, and his name's Philip. It's Philip Glass. His name is. That's right. He's got this name, Philip Glass. And he must be the most underworked copper in the world, because there's not been a recorded crime on Tristan da Cunha since it was founded. There are, I think, 4 policemen on Ascension, and all the rest are on St Helena, about 12 of them on St Helena. And like I said, there's the police station at Jamestown. It doubles up as the prison. It's called HMP Jamestown. It's probably just a drunk tank, you know, where people have been spent too much in the pub. That's probably all it's used for. But anyway, those, believe it or not, I couldn't quite believe it when I heard this. So I'm going to show you the River Thames now. This here is the River Thames, or Isis as we call it here in Oxford. And we're now up the western side of the Ayat, the Aston's Ayat. There's the boat sheds, which I've shown you on previous videos over there. Those are some of the university's boat sheds. I'm going to continue northwards now along the island's pathway. So these coppers have been issued with tasers. I couldn't believe it when I heard. And this was beyond anything even I predicted. I didn't predict that would happen. The police on St Helena, one of the most peaceful places on earth, the small isolated communities tend to be, where everyone knows each other and things like that, they tend to have very low crime rates, have been issued with tasers and trained to use tasers. And nothing illustrates this transformation that the airport has caused more than that. And I do wonder what the hell the saints think of this. I mean, they're literally being dragged from their unique lifestyle, their unique old ways, and they've been just basically shoved in the deep end of the globalist, international, Illuminati occupied world. What the hell is going through their heads right now? And I can't imagine. I've lived my whole life within this globalist nightmare. I can't imagine what it must be like to experience it for the first time. As I was saying on previous shows, on our previous program about nuclear weapons, you know, what's it like to feel that fear for the first time? I don't know. I've been born under the shadow of the bomb. And for them, I've been born under the shadow of Illuminati-occupied globalism. You know, I am, and at the moment of my conception and birth, I was an asset of the Illuminati-occupied government, or Illuminati occupation government. That's what I am. IOG, IOG, the Illuminati Occupation Government, yeah. And so that's something, you know, as I said, there's no way I could possibly comprehend how they're feeling right now. And I wonder if it's made anyone change their mind about the airport. I mean, some of them I think realised it. As I said on previous films, some of them realised this at the start. When the airport was first proposed, they were against it because they could see this coming. Despite the advantages of the airport, ease of access brings, what it's going to do is going to be a massive boom in the economy now at St Helena. It may even be able to become self-sufficient and no longer rely on its £5 million a year government subsidies, which has always been a bit of a, I suppose it's been undignified for them. And of course, he's funded by the taxpayer. So, despite those advantages, I wonder if any of the saints are thinking twice. So the RMS was left at Cape Town, tied up at Cape Town, decommissioned, the crew left, and she was just sitting there. And I went and I was very sad when that happened, as I knew I would be, because I was really pleased when the RMS St Helena was actually, her service was extended, because she was meant to retire in early 2017, but she got like a few extra months because of the airport's technical problems. But of course it's only delaying the inevitable. The RMS is gone. Now there are still ships that regularly call in the territory. There's actually a what's a magpie there? Magpie, where's your wife? There's a ship called MV Helena. I wonder if it was not purpose built for the job. It's just a standard. Freighter. It's a standard merchant ship, a freighter, and it's now got the job of delivering goods. It does the job that the RMS used to do in terms of the delivering. However, of course, that is a much lighter job now because of the airport. It doesn't carry any passengers. You can't go in and out there on the MV Helena. It's simply goods. It's simply cargo. Whereas St Helena, the RMS, that is, the RMS was a joint passenger and cargo vessel. This is just cargo. Passengers are expected to go by air now. So if I go to St Helena, it's going to be by ship, and I'll probably chartering a ship is too expensive. I'd have to go on a cruise ship or something like that if I ever wanted to go to St Helena, which I hope I can do someday. I hope I can do. I don't want to fly. So thanks to the person who offered the crowdfunding, but I have to say no thanks. We're now coming round to the north side of the island. You know, it's like the RMS. I actually went and looked up the RMS. Stripped of her name now, of course. It just said former RMS St Helena. That's the last ship ever to carry the title RMS, which is Royal Mail Ship. There used to be lots of them. I mean, the Titanic was an RMS ship because it had to deliver the post. But along with everything else, a post as well now. So the RMS was tied up and was basically handed over to a group of agents who essentially deal with the breakers. And that was, I looked and I thought, the RMS St Helena is now doomed. It's going to go for scrap. They're going to sell it off for about £500,000 of scrap. And that, unfortunately, seemed her most likely fate. But a couple of weeks ago, something wonderful happened. Now, sometimes these things just suddenly appear. It's just wonderful how these events just suddenly emerge into my life. And it's, do you remember me saying about how the universe gives you signs? The universe, God, whatever you want to call it, will actually give you little clues about what's going on in the universe. I've described my final day in portering. It was really quite remarkable. I think I talked about this on a previous video, but I got to do 2 dignity statements. Oh, my arm's aching. I need a selfie stick. I got to do 2 dignity statements on the one day. And you know about my dignity statements. You've seen my dignity statements videos. I got to do 2 of them on the same day. I was absolutely delighted. Hello. And I think heading back towards, yeah, now heading back towards the entrance. I've not been on this path before. Hello, doggy. Hello. Hello, hello there. How are you? Oh, it's a beautiful little border terrier there, aren't they cute? So I thought that, but then something happened. I want to describe to you actually because it's just really very important. I was looking, I remember, one of my things I remember about my childhood, I mean I've had sad memories from childhood which I've discussed before. I've also got happy memories, and when I was a child I used to love going and see my grandparents in the Netherlands, my mother's family. Should we go down here? I'm going to go down here. So that's the entrance over there. I'm going to go down this little pathway here. There's a maze of these little pathways on this island. And one of the things I remember, they lived in a place called Mook, which is in Limburg, in the southeast of the country. It's one of the few places in Holland where there's any hills, actually. They lived at the foot of a hill. And there was a river called the River Maas, which runs through it. And it's just south of Nijmegen, if you want to look at it on the map. And there used to be a ferry boat that crossed the river. And the ferry boat, one of the fun things I used to do, one of the parts of my holiday, was to go down to the ferry boat and cross over the river on this ferry, which is it's a joint passenger vehicle ferry. It's like a pontoon boat, which has a conning tower, and it has like ramps at each end, and the cars drive up onto it. The passengers go and stand at the side. And I remember very well crossing over the river, the rumble of the engines and the smell of it all. It was all part of the happy memories of my childhood. School holidays off to Holland. And I was very, very sad because I remember crying when I was a little kid because they got rid of this ferry boat, and they got rid of it because they built a bridge. They built a bridge further upstream, which meant that most of the traffic, the traffic basically was being diverted. So the main route now goes over that bridge rather than across the river on the ferry. It's between the town of Mook and the town of Katwijk. And I remember being so sad. I remember imagining, I wrote stories about how the crew of the ferry sailed it up the stream to protest. And my dad tried to explain to me, Ben, you got to realise when things ain't needed anymore, you can't keep that ferry running when cars are travelling over the bridge. And being a little kid, I said, well, why is that a reason to stop the ferry? Because the ferry's such a wonderful thing. Why is simple practicalities a reason to stop it? Kids are like, it's just like we're sentimental in that way. Children are, and they see things that way. Yeah, but it's such a wonderful thing. Can't they just keep it going anyway? Of course, it's not economically possible. You can't explain economic possibilities to a little kid. And then I happened just to Google it because the ferry's name is Gottesmetons. Now that means God is with us. That's the name of the ship. God is with us. And sometimes God, in whatever way you like to define what God is, sometimes does communicate with us in this mysterious ways, as the saying goes. Moves in mysterious ways. And in this case, I've just been looking up the RMS, and I came across, I wanted to find out what happened to the boat, because I assumed the ferry boat had just been taken away, because it was an old boat built in the 60s, and it was like in the late 80s when it was decommissioned. I assumed it had just been done away with. So I googled it. Gottesmetons 3 is actually God is with us 3, number 3. There's 2 others, I guess. And guess what? It's not only still afloat, it's still in service. It's actually in Western Ireland. It's actually being used currently to link the island of Valentia in County Kerry, between the islands of County Kerry and the mainland. It's a much longer journey actually than it used to do across the river, but it's Gottesmetons 3. I mean, they probably pronounce it Gottesmetons because they're Irish, Gottesmetons. But this boat is now doing this. It's amazing. This here is the River Cherwell. You can see here, and it's linked by this little channel here. It's a lovely little place. It's absolutely delightful. Some people having a picnic there. This is what. That's another. You got to do that if you come to Oxford. And it's a nice day. Picnic by the river. So I mean, I just felt, my goodness, I just jumped with delight. I wrote an article called "Don't Give Up." I'll put a link in the description box to it. Don't give up, because I think this was God or the universe's way of saying, "Don't give up, don't give up, Ben." And so it seemed fateful. I mean, as I'm saying, I mean, the skeptics will put it down to a coincidence. And if you watch my last video when I went to Newcastle, the Truth Seekers North East, I'll talk you through why it's wrong to do that, to put things down to coincidence. That's what the skeptics will say, though. They'll say, no, Ben, it was just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. No, it was not a coincidence. It felt fateful. It felt charged with meaning when I had this experience of finding this old ferry boat yet again. I always thought, I want to go there. Anyway, I contacted the Facebook group, and they were really interested in the story of knowing that boat when I was a kid, and they were really, the crew, I got in touch with the current crew and everything, and the people who run it. And again, it's servicing an island, Valencia Island, so it's like a mini St Helena situation, because it's actually been used to look after a little island called Valencia Island, which is off the coast of Ireland. I mean, that looks lovely here, look at that. And I was like really amazed, and so I don't know if I can get through here. Actually, it's a bit cramped. Oh, I think it's. Oh, look at this! This is like Lord of the Rings, isn't it? It's like Fangorn Forest. Ooh, can I get through here? I think it's blocked off. You know. Oh, I think I can. Maybe I'll squeeze through. So, bear with me. Oh. Right. Nothing gets in the way of a hospital porter, even an ex-hospital porter, I absolutely assure you. Right, there we are. I hope none of you laughed when I tripped over that fence in my video with another blonde, the Newbury one. Here we go. Oh, I think there's dog poo, I better not step in that. But look at this, it's lovely. Just I love the colours and the smells. This is nature. That's what I love about these islands. Wild. Oh, right, so just nettles along here. Don't want to get stung. Oh. So, yeah, I was, it seemed, I say, it just seemed charged with destiny, this experience. So I then, what happened was I sort of just was happy then. It kind of was like giving me it gave me a boost. It refreshed my spirit. It gave me a boost at a time when I was feeling very sad, because I was honestly sad about the RMS being. Oh my goodness! Can I get through here? I think I might have to go back. Ooh. Hey, it's nice here, isn't it? Right, constricted. No, I can still carry on. It's like easy like hacking your way through a jungle here, isn't it? Alright, I'm gonna get bloody stung here because these nettles are really a bit high up. So you stick. Oh, you bastard! Oh, see, you bastard. Go on, get down. Sorry, you nettles. I'm gonna have to kick some of these nettles down. So I was like, really, really happy that happened. Like, oh, push through. That's it. I was very, very happy that happened. Oh, I don't think I'm going to get. Yeah, I think I might have to go back. Ow! Just a couple of little stings, won't hurt me. So some things do get in the way of a hospital porter, unfortunately. Ooh. So yeah, mine is a nice exploration. Actually, I'm just going to. I think I might stop the recording just for a moment while I hack my way out of this jungle. I could easily imagine, actually, that I'm in darkest Siberia or somewhere like that. Do you think the British Bigfoot is anywhere nearby? Shut up, Diego Rivera. I think I see a brown furry pelt hiding behind a tree. Come out, Bigfoot. Okay, see you in a minute. Right, I'm out of the... my legs are covered in nettle stings, a bit painful, but I'm now out. And so, as I said, I finished the whole episode. Did end in good spirits for me, even though I was expecting that's the end of the RMS. I was expecting next thing you know, she's been towed off to for disposal, for being cut up and melted down by the shipbreakers. And then last month, and I wrote an article about this, if you remember, something amazing happened. I just happened to come across information. I don't think I was even actively looking for it. I just happened to just stumble across something when I was randomly surfing. There were still a few nettles along here, which talked about the RMS. But now, oh, look at that, a thistle as well. I'm not out of the woods yet. And there was this, it's still very wild here. I found out what happened to the RMS over the intervening year. Now, what happened was she was still in one piece. She'd not been scrapped. And my goodness, I was over the moon. Not only that, but she's in service. She's in active service. The RMS is actually discovered a new life. I mean, given a new life, a new lease of life. Now, she's actually been handed over twice, actually. The first time she was bought up by a company called MNG Maritime. Now, these are, I know we're back in the open now. Bit of a loophole, we found our way back. MNG Maritime are a company that provides security for merchant vessels at sea in areas where there's a lot of piracy. Now, I think of piracy as something old-fashioned, you know, Origin lad, you know, guys with parrots on their shoulder and wooden legs, you know, with cutlasses, holding up ships and burying trunks full of gold, chests full of gold on beaches with maps with X marking the spot and things like that. That's our popular image of pirates. But it's not. Piracy is a big thing in the modern world, especially in areas such as the Persian Gulf. Well, it's not the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Aden, where a lot of them come from Somalia, these pirates. And they're a major threat. I mean, they board ships, they're armed at gunpoint, they hold the crew at gunpoint, they steal the cargo. Sometimes they'll take crew members and passengers hostage, and for exchange for ransom. So there was actually there's a news story about some tourists who'd been taken hostage by pirates, from a yacht, I believe, and they were taken hostage and they were held in captivity until someone forked up however much money it was to let them go. And so they came back and they lived to tell the tale. Luckily, people sometimes get killed by these pirates. It's a nasty business. So there's several companies, private companies, essentially like mercenaries, who provide security for these ships, and they do it by putting armed personnel on board, security guards with heavy weaponry. Sometimes they'll put artillery and deck guns and things like that on ships as well. And MNG Maritime do this. And so the RMS was renamed MNG Tahiti, and she was put to work in the Gulf of Aden, delivering personnel and supplies to the security services on the ships. So she'd have armories carrying weapons, and she'd have places for personnel as well to carry. She's the ideal sort of ship, part cargo, part passenger. So I found out that the RMS, we're at the end of the island now. I found out that the RMS had been brought back into service for that purpose. And not only that, now what happened was Mark Gray, who's the CEO of MNG Maritime, said that he understood the history, said we would treat this ship in a manner to which he's accustomed. We know how important she is to the Saints. So the CEO of that company understood the actual history of this ship and appreciated that as she was in her service with MNG Maritime. Now, since then, they've actually sold her on now. She's been, the RMS has been sold to another company, actually, and it's run by two people called Alejandro Agag. I think that's Alejandro, actually. Alejandro Agag and Gilles de Ferrand, a French name. And what they're using the RMS for is for their company, which is a company that organises Extreme E. Now, you may not have heard of Extreme E because it's only just sort of started. It's a sport. It's a formula of motor racing, Extreme E, where all the cars are electrically powered. So all the vehicles are electrically powered, it's like rally car racing with electric cars. And Extreme E is just sort of taken off, and so these two guys are basically what they want to hold a demonstration race next year in London, so I'll go along to see that. Not to see the racing so much, but to see the RMS, because I've never seen the RMS and I'd love to see it. So now that at the moment there's no plans to sell her on after that. They're going to keep using her, so as far as I can see, the RMS is going to be sailing the high seas indefinitely, and I must say I'm delighted. Again, this is it's symbolic. It is, I suppose what I mean to say is, it is symbolic of the world at large. I mean, I suppose it is in a sense a parable of the world at large, because the Illuminati at the moment and their control of the earth is like the forces behind the airport, and the things that get destroyed when the airport came along are like the things that the Illuminati destroy, which are things that oppose them. So to see when I see the old RMS still sailing and still acting in active service, it's a B. Right, when I see that, it fills me with hope. I feel to myself that there is hope. It's kind of like a beacon of hope. It's like something that gives me hope. It's like that scene in Lord of the Rings. I mean, I think it was in the film as well. It was in the book certainly. Frodo and Sam are trudging through Mordor, this horrible, desiccated, devastated place. They've got to put the ring into Mount Doom, and they're in a desperate situation. They look up, and through the clouds of soot and sulphur coming from the volcano, they see a star, and they recognise the star. It's the same one of the stars they see from the Shire, and it's the same. And that is it's a very important scene in the book, because it's very touching, but it's also the way Tolkien. I mean, I'm going to go and see that film anyway, by the way, Tolkien movie. It's the way Tolkien wanted, in a sense, he wanted to symbolise the idea that this connection to divine sources that want to inspire us and don't want us to give up and to despair. It's just a kind of reminder. Look, it's okay. I'm still here. That kind of thing. So it's like that day, my last day in portering, where I made my last day shift in portering, where I made 2 dignity statements. It's like that. So that's kind of that's how I feel about it. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I think it's a gift from the divine God, or whatever you want to call it. It is literally a gift from God to us, just to say it's okay. It's all right. Look, you're not alone. There's still hope in the world, and that is what seeing the RMS like that, suddenly realising the RMS all this time, this year when I hadn't been looking in a direction, she was still busy. She wasn't dead. She wasn't broken up. She wasn't melted down for razor blades and tin cans. She was still alive, and that to me was one of these nudges in the ribs from the universe, and a smile and a wink, saying, "It's okay. It's not over yet. Don't worry." It was a wonderful feeling. I wanted to share that with you. I really did, and I wanted to keep you posted on what's been happening with St Helena Airport. So I'll no doubt come back to this subject, and eventually, hopefully, I hope to do a Hapanwo TV special from the island of St Helena itself, which I'll go by sea and visit it. But anyway, thank you very much for this beautiful day in Oxford, here at the edge of the Aston's Island. I'm now going to leave the island, crossing over the bridge, and back to mainland, away from this island, which just says are always unique places, across the channel and onto the mainland. Immediately you can sense the sense that when you're on mainland, you know it's different from an island, don't you? So thank you all of you for watching Hapanwo TV. There's more coming soon. I'm going to do a live stream actually about the Euro elections. I'll put a notice up about that soon. I hope to anyway. Thank you all for watching. Hope you're doing well. Enjoy your week. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.